Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr here today for Simon Says Stamp, and today I'm so excited to share another STAMPtember video with you. This features the Whimsy Stamps limited edition exclusive for Simon called Happy Pugmus. We're going to be doing some Copic coloring on Kraft Cardstock with this very fun, punny, whimsical card today. I am using almost all the images from this 4x5 3/4 inch stamp set. On this craft background, we're going to color with Copic markers and then add the funny sentiments. The bottom half of the panel is going to feature 3 pug images. And I'm going to offset them a little bit. I feel like that kind of balances it out just a little bit nicer than having them all lined up straight across. And then across the top of the card, or the top half, we're going to have 2 more pug images and then a small gift package individual image and 3 sentiment strips popped up. We're going to do all of our stamping first. Then we're going to stencil a background, and then we will add our stamped, embossed, and die cut sentiment strips and finish with some details like jewels, a heart accent, and making sure that we have any Nuvo crystal drops, glossy accents, or crystal lacquer, whatever the case may be, to really bring these funny little pugs to life. I am stamping the images on a 4x5 3/4 inch panel of Neenah Desert Storm cardstock. This is a smooth, beautiful cardstock that stamps very much like Neenah cardstock. If you use Neenah for your other Copic coloring, I think you will be really pleasantly surprised at the Desert Storm cardstock because it works fantastic. You get amazing results on this as well. I'm using Hero Art's intensified black ink. You want to make sure to use, if you're going to do alcohol ink coloring, use a cardstock that's going to be alcohol ink friendly. And we're just going to finish stamping up this panel. I did use my sentiment strip or sentiments to help kind of guide where to stamp that individual present. And then we'll go ahead and set our Misty over to the side while we do our coloring. The pugs themselves are going to be colored with E43, 44, 47, Warm Gray 5, and 8. Their tongues are our 35 and 37. And I really love how the markers look on the Kraft cardstock. Almost a little bit more of a warm undertone and maybe not quite as bright and vibrant, which I love. I went with a traditional color scheme here. We're using reds and greens on Kraft. And my E43 is a little dry, so before we color any more pugs, I am going to go ahead and refill that off camera because the tip of that poor marker is just so super dry. Then, because we've stamped on Kraft cardstock, I don't really want their eyes to have a Kraft background. I'm going to use a white pen to color in their eyes and a black pen to color in or add back in the pupil. And it looks a little scary right now, but once I add the pupil back in, it's going to look much better. I'm also using my white pen to add some interest to the wrapping paper around the present. So this is going to have polka dots and stripes. The present that the pug is popping out of along the bottom half of the card is going to have a little plaid decoration. That's one of my favorite things to do with packages, scarves, hats, any of those kind of accessories, is to add in some detail with a pen. Whether it be white or glitter or black, I just love that look. These pugs are so funny and definitely whimsical, as the name Whimsy Stamps would imply. We've got one wearing a reindeer antler headband, one with mistletoe on his head and a funky little scarf with a fun pattern around his neck. The elf hat and elf shoes is hysterical. I think that's so funny. The Christmas tree costume, and then of course the pug popping out of the package. So really, really cute images. I think the only image from the stamp set I did not use for my card today is the individual Christmas tree. It's a little Christmas tree image. It's really a very, very cute image. I just didn't have room for it on this design. I love creating all over backgrounds like this. This is going to be very much an assembly line style card where we've stamped, we're going to color, we're going to stencil in the background to give it a little bit of interest with a card that I am not die cutting. I'm not die cutting individual images. This is more of creating a background pattern. I felt like the background was a little light. It needed a little something. And stencils are my best friend when it comes to one layer backgrounds like this. And the tiny dot stencil, this is the second time I've used it in a STAMPtember video, and it is not a new stencil from Says Stamp, but it's perfect. I really love it because it's real small. It's tiny dots, so the name definitely tells you what you're gonna get there, but it's very small. It just works in the background, and it fills in the background perfectly. So when we get to that here in a minute, you're going to definitely see that. While I chose to use traditional reds and greens, you could definitely mix this up and use any colors you want here. My only real suggestion when coloring on a different color of cardstock other than white is that if you gravitate towards lighter colors, maybe go one shade darker. So start with your mid-tone color and then use your dark color to color on a darker cardstock, because sometimes the lighter ones don't show up very well. I made sure, and definitely a lot of times with the brown color combination, for example, I will use E40 with the E40, 3 and 44 and 47. I didn't even bother because it's so light, it's not going to do anything on a Kraft cardstock background. We had a couple more images to color in, and you can see as I'm adding in the color, I'm adding in detail as well, like drawing in the eyes with white, adding in the black for the pupil, adding some little white dots for their whiskers on their faces, taking the tip of my brown markers and adding dot detail to their bodies to give them a little bit more interest and fun. But aren't they so funny? They made me laugh, and I think that that is always a good thing, especially these days. Funny, whimsical. If you guys have any pug lovers, dog lovers out there, this would just be so cute and clever. So about the greetings I'm using, I can't wait to pee on the Christmas tree, which I thought was funny. The word holiday, and then hugs from the pugs. Those are the three that I'm using on my card. There is also, are you on the good dog or bad dog list? So cute. Did someone say cookies? And happy merry Pugmus. So lots of different sentiments to kind of get you through, to mix and match, whatever you like. You could even create multiple cards. Maybe you stamp one pug image and then add a fun little sentiment, or create gift tags that match your wrapping paper and they each have a little pug on them. There are so many fun things you can do with this stamp set. Obviously, I am not using the coordinating dies for my card share today. There is a stamp die combo available. I know the stamp die combos do go quickly during STAMPtember, it seems like. So if you want coordinating dies, I would highly recommend jumping on that early. And just like with all STAMPtember exclusive limited editions, once they're gone, they are gone. It's just a special event Simon does through STAMPtember where there's something new going on every day, and many days there is an exclusive limited edition, at least one, and there are still some very fun, great sets coming, so do stay tuned for that as we are winding down STAMPtember. Now that we have our images colored, we have detail in, I forgot to mention black jelly pen for the noses as well, because look how much of a difference this looks from a little bit earlier in the video, adding in the black nose. I really like to focus on the face and make it pop. Next, we're going to add a little yellow for the star, and then we're going to make sure we have everything added in. And we're going to take our Tiny Dots stencil, lay it over our background, and pounce on a little white pigment ink for a very subtle pattern background. So this is what I was talking about. I felt like the background was a little light, a little less interesting than I personally want it to look, but I don't want to overwhelm the pugs. They are the focus and feature of this card, but there are ways to add some fun interest without having to mask, which is key. So I'm simply pouncing on the white pigment ink through this Tiny Dot stencil, and you're going to see it's going to leave us with a really fun background. I personally like that there's some darker areas and some lighter areas, and that it's not super uniform. And if at any time you think that you got a little too aggressive and covered up a little too much with the white dots, you can always try to kind of cover or color over it with your Copics. But to me, it doesn't bother me a whole lot if there's some on the images. I just want to add in a little bit of that distressing pattern all over. And I think I got some on the eyes of one of those pugs, so I will have to go back in and fix his eyes just a little bit. And I was relining up the stencil because I felt like up at the top it was missing a line of dots. Okay, let's clean up our work surface, and we're going to fix those eyes really quick. Look how cute! I think that really is fun. Now we're going to take our Misty, we're going to take our sentiments, and I am going to be stamping them on 3 different colors of cardstock. And I decided really quick before I do that, I am going to put crystal lacquer on the tongues. And I'm trying to think if I put it anywhere else on my card. I think just on the pug's tongues, I want it to start drying. We're going to take Nuvo Crystal Drops in White Blizzard, and we are going to add that to the Christmas tree ornaments, the star on the tree, the tip of the little ball on the elf hat, and I think that's it. But all of these little things are finishing touches, which really help make the end result super special. Then we're going to take those sentiments, and I stamped 1 phrase on Lawn Fawn Chili Pepper cardstock, 1 on Hero Arts Palm cardstock, and 1 on Lawn Fawn Black Licorice cardstock. I decided to kind of draw on all 3 main colors from my card, and we're going to stamp with clear embossing ink, heat emboss with white embossing powder, die cut those with either sentiment labels or nested banners dies, and then we're going to pop them up on our card with foam adhesive strips to give them a little depth and dimension. I like to put the foam adhesive on the back, peel off the backing paper, and then I like to hold it with tweezers and pop it in place. I feel like it gives me a little more control. It keeps my fingers out of the adhesive, so it's not super sticky. And look how fun. I love these little strips. They really just kind of round out the whole design. And then it's all topped. It's almost like a little Christmas tree here with the present on top of the sentiments. The final thing we're going to do today for our card is add a Trinity Stamps Funfetti heart accent to the chest of the pug with the antlers. I felt like he had the right kind of surface area for a little heart accent. And you guys know, if you follow me, how I feel about my heart accents. And then we're going to scatter some pretty pink posh white jewels throughout the background for a little touch of sparkle. And I'm using the embellishment wand to easily pick them up and pop them in place right on top of the Ranger Multi-Matte Medium. And kept it really light and white so it adds sparkle, but it doesn't, again, take away from the pug background. The panel was placed on a white top fold card base, which ties nicely in to the white embossing on our sentiments and frames up our background perfectly. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this Copic coloring on Kraft Cardstock tutorial featuring the STAMPtember Whimsy Stamps stamp set called Happy Pugmus for Says Stamp STAMPtember 2020. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Says Stamp STAMPtember that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.